Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Michael Burhan here for another live stream, and I'm doing these a lot recently. One of the reasons behind me doing this, yeah, behind me doing this, if I can actually get it done right, here we go, is because I've had a bit of free time on my hands. Plus, I've been very unwell recently, so I've been bedridden for a lot of my day. So apologies for anybody who's um, basically wrapped up in this. I'm just trying to make sure that the camera looks okay and not too foggy. So, big news in YouTube is we've basically had a situation where YouTube has taken a stance on Logan Paul. A lot of it is more due to the fact that as a streaming platform, they really didn't give people the answers they were looking for in terms of the whole Logan Paul situation, which was fine. They came with a half-assed apology. By the way, if you're new to the streams, leave a comment. I'll read it out on the live stream for you and answer your questions as much as I can. So they basically did a half-assed apology, talking about the fact that they dealt with the situation, etc., etc. Truthfully, they didn't at the time. But Philip DeFranco broke the story. It's been released on Kotaku and all other media websites that they have taken action now, and they've given Logan Paul the one thing that most of us requested, and I'm quite satisfied with as a fellow YouTuber and as someone who believes that the punishment should fit the crime, you know. And I think in terms of the way that people deal with this stuff, the fact that it's a PR disaster, that's a bit of a nightmare, and all the crap that's been going on, you really need to make sure that it's nipped in the butt, and he's basically taken some sort of accountability in terms of what he's done. They're still not accountable for what they've done. They've just basically sat there and went, well, it wasn't our fault, you know, trying to kind of pass the blame. Now, for those who don't know, what they've done is they've basically taken his preferred status away, which means any person who has juicy advertising, if you're a big brand, if you want to promote your product on a million subbed YouTube channel, one of the top selling channels, you would be on a preferred list so that they can send big advertisers your way. It means that you make the big bucks on the platform. And they've taken away that preferred status. He can still monetize his channel and basically get ad revenue from it. He just can't get the preferred stuff. So it's the big money stuff that he won't be able to get. So on that as well, they've removed him from two, not one, but two YouTube Red series. There's one which is a comedy show that they're doing, so he was one of the big four on that series. He's been removed, and he will be replaced by somebody else. And the sequel to The Thinning, the Thinning, aka The Thinning 2, or whatever the hell it was called, New World Order, I think. He's basically been taken away from that as well, which means that in terms of anything that's happened, he's basically been removed from all channels. So he doesn't get his YouTube Red series, both of them. He doesn't make money from those. He doesn't get his preferred advertiser status, which he doesn't make money from that. And also, on top of that as well, he's been banned from going to Japan. So he can't basically travel to Japan now. He's been banned from the country. There is no way for him to get in. He'll basically be stopped if he attempts to. Has he not gotten a strike too? No, I don't think he has. That I may be indifferent on that. I don't think he has. Now, for those who want to have his channel shut down because of the issues, I get it. I totally understand why you want that to happen, because he's basically been a dipshit. And he's a continuous dipshit. But the thing is, he makes a lot of money for the site. So they're not going to shut him down. That's like cutting your nose off to spite your face. It won't happen. And the big issue going on with this is you can't expect them to do that. You're living in La La Land if you think they're going to take someone who makes them a shit ton of money and throw them into a situation where you take them off your platform and they go somewhere else. And that's what YouTube's scared of. They won't admit it, that's what they're scared of. As another YouTuber myself, someone who does this kind of not on a full-time schedule, and I commend anyone who does, it shows to me that they are at least listening, and they are at least trying to stop this PR nightmare from continuing. That's literally what they've done. And by the way, shout out to Dewey for that comment. So on that level, it helps not only like people like myself, it helps everybody else to get justification. There are a lot more people who are just like, well, he needs to donate money to charity, he needs to do this, he needs to do that. He doesn't really need to do anything because in the end, he is who he is. And truthfully, in my opinion, he's a douchebag. That's all he comes out as. His brother's a douchebag. His dad is a douchebag. I've seen a little video clip from his dad condemning the haters and saying that everybody's overreacting and all this bullshit, and that the Paul family are going strong and all this and that. And the whole thing about that situation is that his dad just doesn't give a crap. It shows when your upbringing is someone who only cares about the money and the lulls and the fame. I believe he's announced he's taking a leave for now. Yeah, but apparently he's going to be back within probably about the next week or month. It's a PR move from him. His dad said that he's going to be back, but his dad's been speaking out about it. And it just makes me laugh in terms of the insincerity about it and how he hasn't learned a lesson. A lot, there are two sides. Like, you've got Philip DeFranco and guys like him who sat there and goes, well, he's learned a lesson. He knows it was a mistake. I believe it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. It was something he thought he could benefit from. Also, the most folk in Cleveland are douchebags. Well, there you go. And that's the problem. When you've got an upbringing from a parent who's a douchebag, you are going to grow up to be a douchebag. If you've got a parent who mistreats you and abuses you, you're going to grow up to have issues. His dad doesn't give a rat's ass. He just is happy. Excuse me. He's just as happy about his son, the cash cow, making him loads of money, buying him new things, and doing stuff because the Paul family are strong. What he should be doing is teaching his son values. I'm not a religious person myself, but I always believe in teaching your kids values, teaching them to understand certain things. You teach them that people are different, you teach them that cultures need to be respected, and you also teach people values. And it's something that these days doesn't seem to be happening anymore. You can look at, if you want to look at someone, you look at their parents. You look at the way their parents were, and you see how that person grows up and becomes. Some people shun it. I basically was a person who, I had a dad who was a complete and utter dick. I loved him to pieces, but he was a dick. But I grew up resenting his way of thinking and his values. His values were screw everybody over, make money off the back of others, work for someone and pay your way for the rest of your life, get married, have kids, basically have a home, have a car, have all this other stuff, but also get what's yours. And I don't believe that. I believe in people. I'm an idealist. My dad wasn't an idealist. My dad was a conservative. Then he was basically a leftist when it suited him. He, got himself on the disabled list because he basically made himself purposely sick. And he believed, he was telling people he was a millionaire when he wasn't. And it's the kind of douchebaggery you've got to look at. You look at someone's parents, and you look at the individual and say, well, is that person going to turn out like their parents? Some people don't, and that's what I did. I went in my own path. I went in my own direction. You can tell Logan and Jake are literally mirror images of their dad. And it's a shame. I'm not condemning anyone, and I'm not sitting there shitting on people, but it's kind of the society we live in at the moment, where it's like we look to someone who's got more money than we have, who's better, they're living a better lifestyle than we are. There's something we want, and we idolize them. People idolize the Kardashians. I have no freaking idea why, but a lot of people do. They look at her and go, oh, look at Kim. She's made loads of money. She's a smart businesswoman. I want to be just like her. Even though the lion's share of the money she's made is off the back of a freaking porn tape that she made with Ray J. People don't get this. She made a sex tape, promoted a freaking TV show, did the TV show. The TV show's still running. She's earning millions off of that. She's earning millions off her fan base. And people don't get where she started from. Again, I'm not condemning these sex tapes, but I'm saying it's something I wouldn't do. And it comes out to that kind of whole idea that that's how, you make money from doing nothing. She's used her body to make money. And again, not condemning it. That's what she wants to do. That's cool. But when people sit there and look at her as an idol, that's the person you're looking at. You don't look at the whole full spectrum. When you look at Logan and Jake, you don't look at the fact that they don't care about someone's culture. They don't care about someone's reputation. They don't care about a country of individuals, of people. They don't care about relationships. What they care about is what you can do for me at this time. And it's the way it is. And Now, I don't know what the effect of this is going to be on smaller YouTube channels. This is the big thing for me, because if you're a smaller channel, you're going to get hit a lot by this. Because YouTube are going to put policies into place, and they're going to make sure that this shit doesn't happen again. And that they are quicker to react to smaller channels than they are react to bigger channels. I don't know if you know this, Dewey. But if you're a smaller channel, you're going to get hit. If you have something that they deem offensive, and it's going to be anything now, because there's no wheelhouse on this. It's whatever they deem as offensive, whatever the person who looks at your video deems as offensive, you're going to get hit for. You're going to have monetization issues. I know a few friends of mine on this platform are having monetization issues, and they can barely live at the moment because of the fact that YouTube is a full-time job. And I'm not even going to basically I half-ass this, but most YouTubers do this as a full-time job, and I commend them for doing it. It's like any art or creativity platform. Vlogging, like what I'm doing here, this isn't a full-time job. I can do this anywhere. I can take my phone anywhere in any place and basically do this. This is the bare bones of it. But if you're creating content, making stuff, you're editing your own stuff. Jacelyn Glenn mentioned the same thing as on Twitter, that and so has Cultaholic. Yeah, it's a full-time gig. You can't basically expect YouTubers to basically sit there, and if you're creating content, you have to edit your own content. You've got to produce your own content. You've got to research your own content. If you look at a news affiliate, because this is what I compare YouTube to. I don't compare it to any other entertainment platform. If you're a news affiliate, you have staffers who do your research for you. You have presenters who take that research, digest that research, and they present it to you on their platforms. Then you have people who edit those to make sure that when they go out, sometimes you have live editors who basically live all the content. So when it goes out on the live feed, there's no delays or any issues that goes on with those. But, sometimes things get out. Now, a YouTuber does pretty much that. You've got to do all those things. You've got to do all your research. You've got to present it. You've got to get that content out there to people, and you've got to edit it. And depends how great your editing is. Most of my editing comes in 4K, so I have to do it all in 4K editing and get it out there and present it to everybody that's involved, to the people that I want to present that to. And that's my choice. I'm not going to sit there and go, this is expensive, you should give me money. But that's my choice. And that comes with anybody else who does this. And I get it, it's their choice. But some people use this as a career. Philip DeFranco very successfully does this as a career. Casey Neistat. You look at all these guys who have managed to make something out of their YouTube fame and make a career out of it because of the fact that they put dedication to it, like any creative outlet. So I want to put that out there. And if you can, support some of the smaller channels like Cultaholic, because they are really good. If you're a wrestling fan, I usually choose Cultaholic over What Culture any day, and that's because What Culture and the way they're being managed, they have very different assets coming out. Like they have their own wrestling promotion, which is Defiant. They have their own YouTube channels. They have about 20 or 30 different freaking hubs that they do it. They're kind of like Watch Mojo in a sense, apart from the fact that What Culture has never been accused of stealing from people. So you've got all that going on, and when you're doing all this research, and when you're doing all this editing, and when you're producing all this stuff, then you've got a lot to do. Now, with someone like Logan Paul, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due, even though I do not like the guy personally, and I don't think me and him would be friends at any point in my life. I don't think he would even be friends with me because I'm beneath him. I can't do anything for him. He has a platform that he is using. He's not using it constructively. He's going for the views on most of his stuff. But his content is very engaging. He does, I would call it gutter humor comedy. It's stuff where you don't really need comedic talent to do comedy in his forms. So you have other guys who can do it better. The Amazing Atheist is one of them, but he kind of rattles on a bit too much now. I've kind of unsubbed him after that whole rattling on thing. The thing is, I've always believed I'm a centrist in terms of my political beliefs. When someone goes full left or full right, you can't coherently have a discussion with someone. So that's the thing. So when you look at these smaller creators, they're the ones who are going to be hit so badly by this. And they're the ones who are going to basically get hit hard. So what they're going to do is rely on stuff like Patreon. And again, as I said, if you're not basically being monetized, then you don't get to add your Patreon link to your channel. There's other ways that you'll have to do it, like a Facebook page or gain a fan base and then shill it to your fan base afterwards. Merch sales, everything else that goes on, and it's sad to say the least that these guys are kind of begging for their place because they have nowhere else to go. And YouTube has been very heavy-handed because they take care of like the bigger channels, like the big guys. And this, for me, I consider it a small victory in a sense because it shows that they're not going full on like he can, you know, he doesn't have to live by the rules that everyone else does. It's not one rule for him and one rule for everyone else. So I'm glad about that, and I'm happy about that. And I'm happy about the fact that they took these steps to make sure that Logan Paul was reprimanded accordingly. Will he come out of this and go, everyone was right, I acted inappropriately, I need to basically better check myself? Only time will tell. As Dewey has stated, he's taken some time off to reflect and think and understand why what he did was wrong. And by the way, Logan Paul, if you watch this video, and I doubt you will, but I will convey this to you, this is what you did wrong. You went to another country, you basically knew that you had to basically look out for their culture and be respectful to their culture because you said it about 1 million times in your video. You instead went around to people, threw pokeballs at people, disrespected people, interrupted their workday, acted like a complete dickhead, and then you decided to make a video by going into an area which you know was a sacred area because they don't want to reveal it. I'm not saying Japan is the most amazing place in the world. There is issues like with any country. There are issues, population issues. There are issues in terms of the upper to the lower class, the divide that's going on right now in terms of anywhere. Like any country you go into, there's an upper and lower class divide. There is no middle ground anymore. You're either poor or you're either rich. That's the way it goes. So people feel ashamed, people feel like they've lost it, and people go on the edge. I've been there as someone who's basically had to deal with suicide. They're threw fish and squid at a citizen as well. Yeah, I know, and that's the thing. It's the whole disrespect. It's fine if you're like, and by the way, I'm going to open up a little kettle of fish here and show you a little inside of what comedy shows do. They get you to sign a waiver in those hidden camera shows so that you take part. Most of them are done by actors. They are not done by real people. Or if they are done by real people, they get you to sign a waiver before you go in and participate, because a lot of people just want to be on TV. So they will never subject anyone into anything without having them sign a waiver first. So he does this, throws squid at people, throws a fucking Game Boy on the floor that he purchased from a market stall holder, mistreats everybody, acts like a complete dickhead, puts people in front of the camera who shouldn't have been there in the first place because you're placing them on your videos without any clearances or waivers. And YouTube is the only place that does this, where people basically put people on camera and don't get them to sign a waiver. By the way, whenever I do something and I get people to participate, always get consent, because consent is a big thing. So you go out there and he does all this stuff, and then he basically goes to this forest, which is a sacred forest because people don't want us to be seen, and he films a dead body. He doesn't, and he sits there and goes, I made a mistake. You didn't make a mistake. You did this by choice. You thought that it was going to do you big numbers on YouTube and make you famous, which it did, but in the wrong way. Because you've got fame, but it made you even more famous. Now, you had this body basically on his thumbnail. You had the body in the video when he was told by one of his own crew, don't shoot the body. I think it's not a good idea to shoot the body. I'm paraphrasing here, but that's literally what it is. So he does all this shit. He basically shoots this body. He basically gets himself into a situation where people get angry. His own fan base don't give a crap. And that's concerning more than anything else. It shows that humanly, our society has become so decensored to anyone else's struggle but our own. And it's a large fraction of our society. I'm not going to say it's everybody, because it's not everyone. There are still those who care, who are compassionate, who try and do everything they can to help others and care and love one another. But you have this situation out there in which he does this, and it bugs me. It bugs me how someone who seems to be rather intelligent, he fucking laughed during the whole segment too. But the thing about laughing is I have a nervous reaction when I deal with tragedy, where I smile. So if I go to a funeral, or if I'm dealing with something tragic, I smile. It's a nervous smile. I'm trying to get that out and stop it from happening. I'm not as bad with it as possible. So that laugh could have been a situation where he was nervous around this thing and he was reacting in a certain way. But I don't know him, so I don't know. I don't know him personally. But that's what was my take of it. It was kind of a reactionary situation. Should he have laughed? No. But the fact he made a joke out of it, that's where I drew the line. The whole making a joke out of the fucking situation pissed me off. So he has this thing happen. Excuse me, I got a bit of a bunged up nose. He has this thing happen, so he goes out there, he promotes it, he talks about it, he says how big this thing is going to be and how you know, how he stands out of the pack because he filmed a dead body. If that doesn't say ignorance to you and doesn't show his mental faculties and where he's at and where these people are at who are sitting there defending him, should show you exactly what the problem is and what is going on. To me, if that was me doing that to anyone, I know I would have been called out. But he's been giving a lot more leeway, and a lot of it is due to his standpoint. He's got people who are very like-minded, and also he has people around him who don't keep him in check. So yes, he made a mistake. The mistake was he didn't basically check what he was doing before he did it. So that caused a huge uproar to anybody else who actually had common sense rather than anybody else. Because people, they call us haters, right? And I just want to point this out. We're not hating on you because of how much you're worth. We're not hating on you because you have fame or star power. We are angry that you took a subject that is something that we're still trying to destigmatize to now. We're still trying to destigmatize it. We have government officials. We have people in power. We have healthcare workers who don't take suicide, who don't take mental illness seriously, and don't care about people. People are dying by the droves because of this. And you don't take that seriously. That's where the problem lies. It's nothing to do with your content. It's nothing to do with you. And as a person, I really don't like you. But I'm not a fan. I don't click with bros. I don't click with people who sit there and go and act douchey and mistreat people and think that anything goes because it's YouTube content. We haven't, this is the thing that really pisses me off. We haven't gone past the Daddy of Five situation. That was not okay to begin with. And then we've got Logan Paul who does the exact same thing, but he's mistreating people. He's not mistreating children. So that's okay, right? He's mistreating a culture of people because we go into their country and we don't understand what they're doing, what their ethos is, who they are. We're not understanding how the other side lives. Yeah, we have this huge debate at the moment over immigration and how people should come into our country and learn our languages and learn to speak English and learn to do things the way that we do things. It's such a ridiculous double standard. Because why didn't he go over there? Why didn't he show them the respect that they deserve? Why didn't he basically even talk to people and negotiate ways for him to do his stuff in isolated areas? Why do what he did? And the reason is he didn't care. He thought he was untouchable. He felt he could do what he wants because he's Logan Paul. And that's stupid. As someone who's, like, I'm trying my best to carve a career out of myself in the entertainment industry. And I would give anything for the opportunities that he has, despite the fact I do believe he worked hard for them. I'm going to say that. Give credit where credit was due. He worked hard for them. Because this is a hard platform to get big in. He got an audience. He cultivated that audience. He maintained that audience. But at the same time, it's a very toxic audience. And I'll give you an example of that. Will Wheaton, like Boogie, 21889, the very nice guy on the platform, and he gets a lot of hate. And he has a very toxic fan base. And some of them are very racist. Kenny Omega laid into him about it, and it's sad that I'm forced to agree with him. I love Kenny, and I think that's one of the reasons why, because he's a stand-up human being. The one thing you can say about Kenny, and people say that he tried to kill the business and all this and that bollocks with the unbucks, but at least Kenny Omega did what was right, which was have a conversation, explain to you why, as someone he's not an American, but he's a Canadian living overseas, but he's someone who understands American and Canadian, um, I would say, culture. And he went over to Japan and he understood their culture. He learned the language, so he knows how to speak Japanese. He understands how business is done. He does things his own way. And he has never once used somebody else to make himself look bigger. And more power to him. That's what you do. If you're gonna, that's for me the optimum of a person going out there and making something for themselves while also trying to cultivate their own unique ability and look. To me, he's like the next John Cena. He's basically the biggest thing in the industry right now, bar none. No one can touch him. The only gaijin who's fluent in Japanese, yeah, he is. Jericho knows how to read it, apparently. Omega knows how to speak it and read it. So that's the thing, and that's what you need to do is respect. I'm looking at the moment, I've got two places that I'm looking to move to, either Canada or the United States. Currently having my Canadian visa looked at. The United States is another place that I'm looking at currently. I'm looking at getting a 0-1 visa. In order to migrate over to those areas, I've got to learn how things work and how cultures work and how people work, and also learn how to not ruffle any feathers. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to integrate, and I believe integration is a big thing. You're supposed to understand people. You're supposed to keep what makes you unique, but you also understand how the other side lives. And it seems more and more people distance themselves from that. They're like, me, my family, my bubble. This is about me. No one else. And you can't do that. And that's the Logan Paul problem. And it's a problem that's not just with him, it lives. How the other side tries to deal with their situation, just like you. You're not the only person out there who's poor. You're not the only person out there who's impoverished. And you're not the only person out there who doesn't have things going your way. We all do. And sometimes listening to the other side helps, because it builds relationships, it cultivates people, and sometimes when we win together. And I always believe in that. I always value myself on being a person who loves people. And by the way, it's my birthday today. For those who don't know, I'm 36. Well, on the 11th. So for those who it's not the 11th yet, but it's the 11th in the United Kingdom. But I always believe I'm an idealist, and I believe in people, and I believe everyone is destined for greatness. Happy birthday! Thank you. Is that Heather? Thank you, Heather. So yes, when it comes to these situations, I believe as an idealist in people, I believe everyone has the potential for greatness. Everyone has the right to cultivate that greatness and be in a better situation. And a lot of people do it. I've got a friend of mine. She was a single mum. Merry birthmas. Thank you, Dewey. She was a single mum, and she's a really, really interesting individual. She was left in a situation where she had to raise her son, but she also cultivated herself and became a stunt actress, and is now in her own series. Happy escape from the uterus day joke. Well, I escaped from the uterus actually at 3 a.m. on the 11th of January. I remember that because my mom keeps telling me about it, and also it was written on my birth certificate. So she made the best of her situation. I'm not saying everyone can make the best of their situation and how everybody has a situation similar to hers, because, she had some help, family, friends, people around her. I myself, in my situation, in order to better myself, I had to make some choices in order to make sure I didn't spend as much money as I should be spending, and get myself to the point where I'm living on little to nothing in order to cultivate my career as an actor. But that's what you do. You go through the hardships to make something of yourself, and you do it by engaging and understanding others. And I think people don't understand each other anymore. It's gotten to the point where if you're, Muslim, automatically you're a terrorist, because those two are one and the same now. Or if people not understanding the whole H&M situation, where they're like, well, everyone has the potential for greatness. Not everyone has the compatibility or drive to be, because people don't try hard enough anymore. So it gets discouraging. I agree. I agree, Heather. I agree totally, and it comes to those situations where you have to make sacrifices, you have to make choices, and you have to be the best you that you can be. And as always, I love you all. So everyone who comments on my videos, who views my content, who engages with me on a daily basis, who speaks with me, and who treats me the way that I treat them, I love you all. And even people who hate me, I love you too. Because I know that you're going through a hard time and you're using me as a reflection to blame someone for the reason that your life sucks. I get it. So when it comes to these sort of situations, it's up to you to do what you can. Kenny did it, at a very young age. He knew what he wanted, he had his goals, and he made his sacrifices to do what he needed to do. Being in Japan, I'll tell you, like, he's always in Japan. He's lonely as hell because he doesn't have many people around there. Like most of his best friends are in the United States. Hell, they're going for a tour of Australia without him. It's a big thing. I commend guys like Cody Rhodes, and a lot of people are going to be like, well, he's a millionaire. Yes, he's a millionaire, but he struggled on the undercard for far too long, went to decide I'm going to be an indie worker now, and now is trying to fill a 10,000 seat stadium and make an indie promotion. He's doing what his dad did. Did he have like a lot of money at one point? I don't know. I don't know what his situation came from, but it's heartwarming to see people make sacrifices and try and live the thing we call the American dream. So when you see someone act like a douchebag who's had everything handed to them, it is disheartening because you sit there and think, when's my chance? When's my opportunity? And I'm gonna give you a little story about myself actually. Recently, I had a rejection from an agent. I keep getting rejected by agents. I've recently got a film that I'm tied to, and I'm signing the contract soon, and I'm getting they gave me permission to promote it, and I will be working on this movie for the foreseeable future in February, and I'll be moving on to doing a play in March, and then hopefully moving on to something else after that. I've been working my ass off for this, and as an actor, I've been working for the last 6 months, constantly doing music videos, doing TV shows, doing film roles, working for free at some points. And I know they say you shouldn't work for free, but I consider working for free when there is something that is unique about it. Like I did a short film for a company called Cats Act, was amazing. I used my equipment with them. I let them have my equipment to use, and I've also worked with them. We won an award for it, which was Best Ensemble, and it was a great situation that we came out of because I came into it and I was like, this is amazing. The writing was great, the direction was amazing. I had little to no sleep at the time, but I did it. And I was happy, and I'm proud of that body work, but I'm proud of all my bodies of work, to tell you the truth. I'm proud of everything I've ever done. I believe everything I've ever done should be on the big screen. So that's done. That's out there. That gets its notoriety. And when you think about stuff like that, that's should make getting an agent rather easy. It's not, because everybody looks for a certain look. They look for a certain individual that they want. If one person matches another person, then they're not going to get on their books. So I'm having a very hard time having an agent. I had one. She turned out to be a bit of a control freak and someone who's still the bane of my existence at the moment because she's trying to rub my name in the mud, which is what they do. Some, not all. The ones who are not very professional. And she was being very, very difficult, so I left. And I've been trying to find a new one ever since. And I keep trying to find a new one. Nothing. So it's gotten to the point where I want to get this feature film done. I want to see how things go. I want to see if anything comes from what I'm doing. I call every opportunity an opportunity, because no matter if it's paid, no matter if it's free, no matter if it's low pay, no matter if it's medium scale or if it's the higher pay jobs, because of the fact that everything will come of something. It's a building block. You just keep going and going and going, and eventually that big opportunity will come and you'll knock it out of the park. And that's the way it should be. But you also got to be very confident in your abilities, and I am. I'm a Stanislavski actor. I believe that I have the training, and this really pissed me off. I had someone I respected in the industry say, acting is easy, being disabled is hard, right? I'm not going to knock disabilities. Disabilities are hard, but I do believe being an actor is hard too. I hate when people knock down my industry and say, well, it's not that hard. It is hard. You can't just sit there and read lines and go, I'm going to just spout this out on set. There is a method to it. There is a process to it. There is an understanding of what we do. And that's kind of the thing. And I think a lot of people, when it comes to YouTube, a lot of people sit there, acting is easy, watch the news, real acting is beautiful and tough. I admire you. Thank you. And you have a lot of people come out there and they do all this bullshit about like different levels of hard. I agree. Disabilities are like fucking, it's restricting in terms of your body. You know, I've seen what people go through, and I never want to go through that myself. You know, I would never want to go through that. My dad had a disability. And it's hard. But at the same time, you can't sit there and go, acting is easy, because it irks me. It's not easy. Same goes for content creation and YouTube. It's not easy. When you're doing this, you are literally, for me, making a video, it takes me, and I've said this before in a different video, so this is an awesome buffer. Can you hear me, Dewey? Just want to know if what do you mean by awesome buffer? Is it awesome by like conversation? It's a hard job. Like to make a video. Yeah, you're back. Oh, cool. Apologies. It's probably the internet connection. So when making videos and making content, it will take me to like I didn't hear him break off up at all. It's weird. It's probably the internet connection that he had. Maybe that was the issue. So basically, like I have to edit videos. It takes me 2, 3, 4, like 5 hours sometimes. It will take me a whole day depending on what I'm basically making. You know, Heather would know as well. When you're making content, you have to understand what the idea is you want to put out there, what the content that you want to make. And 9 times out of 10, YouTube does not help you. Like I will post my analytics on my Facebook, my personal Facebook page, and I'll probably post it on Twitter as well. My analytics show that 10% of my channel's growth comes from YouTube, and that's via search. The rest of it comes from outside. So everyone who has subscribed to me, well, the majority of them who haven't clicked on the bell, do not receive any channel updates from me. That's one feature that's broken. They should have fixed that a long time ago. The other feature is the fact is that they have a situation where they do not make, unless you make money and you're a big channel and you've gone viral, there is no way in hell you are going to get viewed by people unless a video gets popular. I think my most popular video for the last 3 weeks is the Cove N100 video, and that's the little USB Nintendo Switch adapter thing. My Mario video, which I worked so hard on, I literally took 2 days to make this video, to write the script, to act out the comedic scenes, to get people to send me their footage so I could edit everything, so I can grade everything, so I can produce everything that's needed. It literally took me 2 days to basically get this all done because I was having issues with receiving everything that I needed to receive. And there's no fault on anybody else. People are busy. So when you're doing a collaborative effort, it happens that way. And also trying to get noticed by other channels as well. I've noticed that as popular as Dragon Age was, it had like 8 views when Tonya played Resident Evil. It got 45 views. Exactly, because it was a popular game at the time. So people wanted to see more Resident Evil streams. Plus, Tonya has that kind of voice which makes everybody hilariously laugh at because she has that "oh no" thing going on, which I love. I think that should be a catchphrase. I'll show you videos as much as I can, Sumbo. Thanks, though, dude. And I appreciate that. But I'm saying, for the little guy, this is what, sometimes, this is what YouTube does, though. And when you look at the whole migration system and the way that they convey things and the way they put out content, YouTube does not give a shit about smaller channels. This needs to change because Dewey will understand this in a professional wrestling term, but it's also, I would say, in an acting term. You're always going to need new talent. Yes, you've got the old guys. Eventually, people age. Eventually, people get really old, and eventually, people stop doing what they're doing. So you have to pass on the knowledge to the other guys. When you're a YouTuber, eventually, some channels are going to get old and stop. Fuck keyboards, fucked. Um, read that out for you, mate. Eventually, you're going to have more people come through. You're going to have new content creators. You're going to have people that a trend gets old, like Epic Mealtime. Epic Mealtime, despite the fact it still maintains a steady viewership, it used to get like 1 million views. Now it's declined. I think some videos only get about 30,000. I'm not going to get old. I'll drink the blood of virgins. Hey, wait, never mind. Mythical creatures won't work. Yeah, no one's a virgin anymore. Maybe the oil fluid from virgin robots, because apparently that's where it's going. Plus trends change, plus people change, plus channels. There are a lot of channels that are getting the big numbers now are vlog channels. One of the reasons why Logan Paul is big, Casey Neistat is big. They've managed to hit something on vlogs, so they do a lot of vlogs. Oil tastes nasty, probably. It probably does. Probably doesn't taste as bad as Tide, though. Just saying. So you've got all these people coming out, and you've got all these channels doing their thing, and instead of YouTube cultivating the new guys, what they do is they latch on to whatever trends and whatever gets the most subscribers and the most views. And that's why they took so much time to basically chastise Logan Paul and hit him where it hurts, his wallet, because that's where all this is going to hit him right now, and I'm glad. He's still going to get exposure. He's still got a fan base that's rapidly growing. Vlog channels are the Rusev Day of YouTube. I agree. But they are growing. Vlog channels are the channels that are making the transition, because you can do them very effectively, you can do them cheaply, and you can do them continuously. If I wanted to, and I know I've been doing these a lot recently, I'm gonna go back to making my other stuff soon. I've just been very, very poorly recently, so I've been bedridden for the last 2 weeks, believe it or not, with back issues. But vlog channels are very easy to kind of make, to digest, to put out. There's not much you can do. If I wanted to, I could probably make a Logan Paul type video. I should do that one day and show you exactly how to make it. They're so easy to make. They're so easy to do, and they're so easy to put out, because all you need is about 7 to 8 minutes of footage. Boom, boom, boom. It goes viral. People love it. Comedic parody videos, prank channels. They're the stuff that gets the content. The creator-owned stuff, the stuff that takes a lot of creativity, doesn't get that much out of it. You have to find new ways to cultivate a fan base, sometimes via Facebook, Reddit, Twitter. I still don't know how to use Reddit, to tell you the truth. All those cuts, though, yeah, I know. Jump cuts galore, baby. I even find Philip DeFranco. I think Philip DeFranco does the right way of jump cuts. He's so easy at doing them. But it's easy to do, it's easy to get out, and it's easy to kind of people to digest. So you literally a 10 to 15 minute video, you're watching it on the way to work, and you're watching it on the way back home. Then you cultivate your audience, and your audience brings more people, and then you basically get YouTube famous. Now, YouTube still has that idea of like anyone can be famous on YouTube. And to me, it takes the right type of personality, and it takes the right type of content. And once you put that out there, then that's it to the world, you know? But the thing that bothered me the most when it comes to anything, and it's the same when it comes to the Hollywood situation, right? And a lot of it is due to accountability. Hollywood still doesn't take accountability for the cesspool that it built. And this was built over time, over the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and so forth, where you had people coming into the industry and going, I have money, I have power, I have influence. So I can use that so I can basically sleep with a bunch of actresses, or in Kevin Spacey's case, actors. So they come in, they do this, they manipulate, they do what the fuck they want, and then eventually the story gets out. So you had the Weinstein controversy that kind of built a snowball effect that got others in the crosshairs. But the problem is as well, There's no differentiation between the good and bad. Like you have the situation that's going on with Stan Lee. Most people probably don't know about this, where he's being attacked by nurses who took care of him. It's like an entire firm, plus the people who looked after him, and apparently a lot of it was is in an attempt to extort money from him. That's what his lawyers are saying. I'm not trying to defend anyone here right now. In my personal opinion, I don't think he's done anything wrong. He's a 95-year-old man. I don't think his dick is active anymore. But let's play devil's advocate. No police reports were made. No one went to anywhere. Nobody dealt with the situation. This has all come across as apparent, and apparently his lawyers have evidence that these people attempted to extort money from him, hence the reason why they are making these allegations. That's because history has built a false idea that people with power can fucking do what they want and never have to account for it. But that's still the same. That's still the same. People can. It's the people that get caught that do. You know, it's like with the Weinstein controversy, and I hate to bring this up constantly. He had women sign embargoes. You had an audio recording of the guy literally after raping a woman saying, it's okay, this is what I do. You had assistants, people who worked for him, leading these women to him. And that's the problem. And I think people, like, there's certain people who make all these assumptions and say, well, you know, it's okay because he can do that because it's free. You don't understand free love. And I'm like, it's free love when it's fucking consensual. If I'm basically meet a woman out in a bar or a guy or whatever, right? And for those who don't know, I'm pansexual, so hey, it's whomever I meet. So I meet a man, woman, trans person. I meet him at a bar, and basically, sorry, I need to use the appropriate pronouns, male or female. So I meet them at a bar, we hit it off, I go back to their place. It has to be consensual. I can't just pin someone down and say, I'm Michael Burhan, open those legs up. It doesn't work that way. That was the problem. And people are still making excuses for Weinstein and his situation. He's now going, I need to go to a sex clinic and get help and all. Oh, excuse me. This is live, folks, not Memorex. So yeah, he basically makes all these attempts at saying, oh, I could deal with it. It was a different time then. Now it's a different time. It's not a different time. There was always consent and non-consensual. That's it. And to get smacked at clubs. Exactly, right? So there's consent and non-consensual, and there's no in-between. And the problem is accountability. And when it happens is, you have a lot of money, you think you don't have accountability for anything anymore. So if you don't have accountability, you try to make excuses when you get caught. AKA Kevin Spacey, when he got caught, he tried to basically sit there and go, I was drunk. Now, Dewey, I know you've heard the Adam Blampied situation, and this is the thing that really bugged me, was Spacey said the I am drunk argument, people sat there and went, that's a fast one, you did this. And he did it. He basically admitted to it. The whole I don't remember excuse is an excuse. There was Adam Blampied went into a situation where he got nudes from a 19-year-old fan of his. She was a model. She just broke up with her boyfriend. She was drunk. She sent him nudes. She posted the message. The message was very consensual. I don't remember sex with my exes, but that was their choice. Exactly. That was a choice. Exactly. Now, she sent him nudes, and then she basically went on Twitter, blew up, and started posting all about him, saying, he did this to me. He's a sexual predator. He forced me to give him nudes. He didn't. One, if you look at the whole idea behind the whole situation was he didn't use his power. He didn't use his influence. She made the choice to give him her nudes, and she used the I was drunk at the time excuse. People rallied around her. He got thrown off from Cultaholics. He's choosing to accept that it was his fault, and he's getting medical help in order to basically help him out with his situation. Do I agree with it? No, because I think there's tit for tat. You can't sit there and use I was drunk as an excuse But that's only if you make consensual, if you had consent or not. If you message someone and said, if someone said to me, Mike, show us a picture of your like penis, and I was drunk at the time and I sent them a picture of my penis, right? They asked for it. I consented by doing that, by saying okay. I can't sit there and go, well, she forced it from me or he forced it from me. It doesn't work that way. And I think that's where people get misconstrued as to what the hell these situations are. And that's from a centrist opinion here. You can't sit there and say it's okay for one, but it's not okay for the other. And we've got to stop making excuses for people. And I understand fandoms. Adam's doing the right thing. He admits to being a sex addict for years. Yeah, I understand. He's basically a shitty boyfriend. That's the only blame I would put on him for that. And if he wants to claim he's a sex addict, that's fine. But in the end of the day, there's a right way to deal with a situation and a wrong way. And I read those messages. He did nothing wrong, right? And the way that she tried to use this as a way to garner attention for herself really pissed me off. And it's the same as the way the nurses are trying to use Stan Lee as a way to get a quick buck out of him, or they're going to ruin his respectable name. Again, if more comes out, I will eat my words. The same goes for the Blampede situation. If more comes out that he did anything reprehensible other than what was stated, then I'm in the wrong here, and I will eat my words, and I will change my perception of this whole thing. You know, I won't Lena Dunham it and just side with whoever's right. I will stick to my guns until I am basically shown that I am wrong here. So I'm literally on that stance when it comes to these sort of things, and that's kind of what bugs me about these situations. There's people just stop holding accountability for themselves. That's the problem. Sometimes one person comes out and then 83 do, and sometimes they're real, sometimes they're not. Exactly, and that's the issue, what's going on here at the moment. But the whole accountability thing, it's like with Hollywood, they're like, oh, you know, we got rid of Weinstein, we got rid of Spacey, it's done. It's not done. There are more people out there that there are issues coming out from, but you have to make sure that these are the right, that literally, you know, you can't do innocent until proven guilty. You've got to do guilty. You can't do guilty until proven innocent. Sorry, misspoke. You can't do guilty until proven innocent. You've got to do innocent until proven guilty. Unless there are factual information. With Weinstein, it was very much cut and dry. Very cut and dry. It was literally, he did what he did. It was recorded. No way to get around it. There were more than one person came out about it. Every story was the same. Unless all these freaking 20 or 30 women got together and went, let's fuck Weinstein. Then there is no way in hell that, you know, and one of them could actually mimic his voice. There was no way in hell that he wasn't in the wrong there. The same goes for Spacey. He admitted that there was a situation. He admitted that the young man was at his party. He admitted to the fact that even though he didn't do it here in the UK, a lot of people come out and said, well, he took me to dinner, and because I wouldn't go back home with him into his hotel, he made me pay for it. His whole situation, he admitted to what he did, and then, well, no, he claimed he didn't remember and that he was drunk, which is literally just him admitting. It's an admission, as far as I'm concerned. It's an excuse. You could be innocent if you tweet enough with incoherent sentences and aren't even grammar and pay people. The whole shocking thing is people are like, again, I'm not going to try and attack the good name of the POTUS, the President of the United States. He's admitted to doing nasty things to women who are in his pageants. People are okay with that. That worries me. It worries me how people find certain things and certain people acceptable. If you're a fan of them, you can't do that. You can't sit there and go, well, I'm a fan of so-and-so, so, you know, he has a good name. This is news to me. You can't sit there and say, I'm a good fan of someone, so I'm allowed to give them a pass. We nearly had a fucking, where was it? Was it Texas or was it Georgia, where that senator basically tried to get a seat, and he was basically a known pedophile? Like, the dude admitted to do it, and then people were like, well, Alabama, thank you. As a good Christian, I forgive him, and I forgive him because he's a good Christian, and he has my forgiveness. And it's just like, really? You really want to go there? You really want to have that whole he's forgiven, he's a good Christian man, and I'm a good Christian woman, and I forgive him. And then you have guys going, well, I don't want Democrats taking that seat. He should have bowed out. And yet the Republicans go, well, and I love how Trump's team were just like, well, there is a Republican seat there, and if you want to vote for it, we're not gonna say don't vote for it, but that's all we're gonna say. And it's just like, fuck, common sense. He's a known pedophile. He should have been convicted. He should have been freaking banned from the local mall for creeping at teenagers. Exactly. And then his wife is going on about fake news. This has happened. This happened. Your freaking Justice Department blocked a young female from reporting this piece of garbage, and now people are trying to tote the fine line of this is acceptable. Yeah, common sense. I know, where did that go? Where did common sense go these days? And that's the problem. When you look at that, and the same thing happens over here all the time, where you have situations where you have councillors and chancellors and people here getting done for stuff, and then they're able to pay their way out of it, and they're able to come out of it and go, hey, it's okay. He's a respectable member of our culture and a respectable member of our society. There's two things I don't tolerate. What was a litany of things, but the two big things I don't tolerate: rapists, kiddie fiddlers, and also murderers. But I don't tolerate that crap. And that's the thing that bothers me, is people were able to sit there and go, well, at least he's better than the Democrats. Unless that Democrat has gone to your house and single-handedly raped your children and your pets, there is no way in hell that that guy should have gotten the seat. And I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad common sense did prevail, but by a small margin, it prevailed. And it worries me how people find shit acceptable nowadays. It's like, well, this is acceptable. It's acceptable to be, a pedophile. Even in Spacey's case, when he sat there and went, well, I just want to tell you that I've been living a lie. I was bisexual for my entirety of my career, and now I'm gay. Hiding behind the fucking rainbow, man. Yeah, I thank anybody with common sense that got that piece of that creepy bastard out of power. And that's the thing. It's like, he did what he did. He shouldn't be allowed to do it again, and he should accept the fact that this came back to haunt him. Do you think people are not going to tell when you do shit like this? Do you think women aren't going to come... If I did stuff like that, do you think women aren't going to come out and say, Michael Burhan did this to me? Or that freaking... If I did stuff like that? And I wouldn't, because that's disgusting. But do you know what I mean? There is a level... Like, I'm considered creepy, believe it or not. I'm pervy. And there is a level of respect and attitude that you should have, and you should literally... And it's all about that whole of, well, I'm famous, and I can deny it, and no one will believe you, or I'm rich, and I have a respectable background, everybody knows me, no one will believe you, and it's just, it's ridiculous. And I get that you're a fan of a person, I get that you love this person, think that person's amazing, that person does everything that I want them to do, but you can't come out there and just literally take away and throw out all your ethics and throw out common sense and throw out love for another human being because you want your shit done, because you're a fan of a party, because you're a fan of an actor, or you're a fan of a celebrity. That's not how things work, and that's not how things should work in society. And it really bugs me as someone who I've always tried to do the right thing and be like the right type of human being. And I think that you always have to look at positive change. And when you look at stuff like that, it's like, dude, really? Is this the way that we're tuning ourselves out now to sort of like, well, he's famous, so... The only person I think who's basically been not having... Like, I understand, and this is one of the reasons why I love Stan Lee so much. When the allegations were made about him, he refuted them. He didn't sit there, and like Louis C.K., I have my respect for Louis C.K. has just gone down the shitter. I don't care if he sits there and goes, well, I believe that jerking off in front of someone was okay. How can you believe that jerking off in front of someone was okay? When, I'm going to get help to kind of, and it's like, okay, at least you're doing the right thing about that, but it's like, how would you believe that doing that was okay? How are you going to go up to a production assistant on set with your robot open going, hey, so, I'm an actor, sex? It's shocking, to say the least. And it comes to that whole ideology of, I'm untouchable. We need to basically ingrain in our society that no one is untouchable. George Takei handled it well too. Yeah, and he even said, I didn't do that. I didn't do that at all. And this is the way you should be doing things if you're innocent. If you're not innocent, you will be found out. If you're lying to people's faces, you'll be found out. It boggles the mind when you sit there and go through this and you go, okay, you know, obviously that person's fine. That person didn't do anything wrong because they're famous. Really? So that's the issue going on. I'm actually glad that House of Cards are coming back and Spacey is. I think they're killing him off camera, which I have no issue with. His character had a heart condition anyway, so they'll just give him the chop. But and I'm a bit pissed at the fact that the movies that I loved him in, he was a tremendous actor. It's like saying that Chris Benoit was a tremendous wrestler. He was. I'm not going to take away his ability and as an actor, but at the same time, looking at him as an individual, he's a horrible human being. There's a respect people. And this is the one thing that I find very insulting. The more money some people have, the less respect they have for everyone else. It's like there was something in the news recently where a Tory minister, that's our side. Basically, they're the Republicans of the United Kingdom. They basically came out and said, well, if people don't like, if people are basically in impoverished situations, at least they're not homeless. We have an issue of homelessness at the moment because house prices keep going up, money keeps going down, jobs are few and far plenty, people cannot pay for their situation, their living situation, and then you have these people sitting there going, well, if you can't pay for it, that's on you. And these are people who get free, they get free money, right? You come into the House of Commons, you get paid every time that you basically sit on the seat and you have to govern over something. You get paid housing allowance. People who are in situations where they cannot basically live, right, do not get paid any housing allowance. If you're 20 or under, you don't get any housing allowance, right, if you have to move in on your own, unless it's a special situation. You have to either be homeless on the street or mentally ill in order to get something such as housing allowance. And these guys are sitting there making all these excuses, telling people that as individuals, the fact that you're homeless is your own fault. And I know for a fact that's not everyone else's fault, right? There are situations that happen. Like, there are people who make themselves purposely homeless. That has happened. But you have to acknowledge there are those who haven't, and there are those that need help, and they need the help of others and kindness of others. And kindness is going out the window now. Kindness is like a fad. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I could be kind, or I could just point at that guy and say, well, it's your fault that you're living like that. I like how when something happens in someone's life, it's somehow your fault. And it's about accountability. I've always been accountable for myself. I always try to be, at least. You've got to be accountable for your own situation, for who you are as a person and as an individual. And you've got to be accountable for what you can control. But there are stuff that you can't. There are situations that happen, like at my mum's place recently, where she ended up in a situation where her boiler broke down. They still haven't fixed it. For 5 days, she's in a situation where her boiler is still acting up and they still haven't sourced the parts to fix her boiler. They've provided her with heaters and bits and pieces to help her because that's the terms and conditions that are provided as part of her rental agreement. But it also has a situation where she is, in the situation that she's in. It's messed up. And as someone who believes in equality and the love of other people, watching people attack one another because they're in a messed up situation She's angry, she's cold, she's sick right now. She's very, very sick to the point where she can barely get out of bed. I've had to, basically, myself and my brother had to help. We've been having arguments with the company that supports her with the landlord to try and get the boiler fixed because it's in their agreement. She pays rent for, for said agreement, so they should be basically fixing it. Pisses me off too. Um, she's gotten really sick. I've myself, because I don't like the cold, so the cold has gotten me really sick too. So I ended up with like back issues because of it. I end up having there's a muscle in my back that gets in spasm. It causes the nerve in my back to go, and then I end up even more back issues. So eventually, I'm hoping to be okay, probably in the next couple of days. But that's what happens. You get sick. People like I've seen disabled people in this country end up without carers, without the additions that they need in order to basically have the stuff provided that they needed, and no one gives a shit. No one does. Like Vice did a program on someone recently where they went through her house, and it was really painful to watch because she was literally using her elbows on the floor. She could walk, she couldn't walk, so she used her elbows on the floor, got to the toilet, climbed on top of the toilet, did her business, flushed the toilet, washed her hands, climbed back down to the floor, literally climbed back to her bedroom. She barely has anything to eat. She can't go shopping for herself. She barely has enough to live on. And apparently, that's livable conditions for an individual. See you later. See you later, Heather, and have a lovely one, and love you too. So, it it boggles the mind when we find this stuff acceptable, and uh, we're taught from a very early age as children to love one another and respect one another. And when you go out to society, it's very different. It feels like you're in high school because you have people talking crap about one another. You have people treating each other with so much disrespect. Those who consider themselves better than everybody else. You have people treating the next person like they're garbage. People, do you wonder why so many people have anxiety and depression? There's your reason. You have a litany of health and mental conditions. You have parents who shouldn't be parents raising children who basically get abused every day, whether it's from freaking like someone abusing you sexually to someone abusing you physically or mentally. You have people being bullied at school. You have people being thrown into gangs where if you don't do what someone says, you're basically going to be in a situation where you end up either getting beaten within an inch of your life or treated in a certain way. I saw a school teacher recently in the United States get arrested because she spoke up where there was a head of the school board who got a position, superintendent. He got paid a 38 grand pay raise when the teachers at the school who had fully packed classes wouldn't even get 1 cent of a pay raise. And what they did was they called a police officer to go to the school. They led her out, so she walked out. She was getting ready to go, and she was arrested. Got to run, grab some six. I'll leave the streaming on my computer. Cool, dude. And it basically really bugs me in terms of the way humanity is just turning into such a cesspool. I'm not saying everyone, because it's not everyone. There are those out there who are some cool individuals. You've got some great people out there who are doing their best to try and help others and help themselves. Markiplier would be one of the bigger ones on YouTube who's to see his donations, to see the way that he basically treats people and the way he respects his fans. I think he's doing a stage show right now. It's amazing. You've got PewDiePie. I don't like PewDiePie's content. I hate his content, and that's a rule of thumb for me. But he basically goes out of his way to help get charitable causes up. He donates a lion's share of his pay packet. I've got nothing but great things to say about the guy. As a human being, Felix he tries to help everybody else, and the thing that really bugs me right now is you've got guys who I thought were very nice and kind individuals, like Richard Branson. I love Richard Branson as a person, but I think he's a piece of shit because he sued the NHS for billions because of a contract. And then Richard Branson then decides that he's basically also going to get another contract for the railway system, and we're donating taxpayers' money towards that. And it bugs me. I feel like as a human being, he should know better. He should know better in terms of his society, in terms of the culture, in terms of the people that he represents. He came from nothing and made something from himself. And yet he's playing the same shitty game that everyone else is playing. You know, to see these people I once respected and I once loved and had so much enamor and kind of belief in, turn into these shitty individuals with shitty practices, it bugs me, to say the least. It bugs me so much. And I always said to myself, and I'm not going to sit there and go, I'm going to be famous one day. It happens, it happens. If I ever get to the position when I'm well off, I will make sure that I would be more of a Markiplier than I would be a Richard Branson. I don't care about money, and I think people put too much money and status. You know, I want so much status, I want so much money, I want so much power, and they don't focus on the individuals that are underneath them. We have to nurture in order to make sure that people get to where they want to get. If I've always had situations where I've had people come to me and say, "Hey, I want to be a live streamer. I want to make YouTube. Any advice?" I've always tried to give the best advice I can give because, truthfully, I ain't worth shit. That's the truth. I've had people come to me and say, "I want to be an actor. How would you suggest to be an actor?" And I would always say, go and get some training done. Learn a method. Learn either the method, learn the Stanislavski system, or you could learn Stella Adler's version of the Stanislavski system, or you could basically learn from Brecht. You could learn. There's so many different variations of acting that you can learn, but also you need to cultivate your own process because you have to understand how things are done, but you also have to understand how you would do it yourself as an actor. That's the best way to do things as an actor. You have to learn a process and cultivate your own style. You know, and you also learn from the best. I've picked the minds of some great actors. Kenneth Branagh was the best conversation I ever had because I feel like he always gives back. He always has a conversation. He always gives back to the people that he works with, and it's one of those things that I've never experienced before because you don't usually have when you're on set. I'm very shy. I'm very awkward, and I'm very nervous around people when I'm on set. So it takes a bit of time for me to warm up and get to know people and understand others. And that's a lot to do with my anxiety. That's why sometimes when I do a full schedule, if I'm acting in something and it's a full schedule, like a few days or a few weeks or whatever, I end up in a situation where I have to be bedridden for a couple of days because I need a recharge because I'm an introvert, so it goes over my own conditioning to the point where I'm dead to the world the next couple of days. But with him, I did the magic flute with him, and he was a great guy because he would have a conversation with me. And my scene was literally a couple of minutes. I was supposed to die. That's literally what it was. I come in, I'm holding my rifle, I'm jumping through this minefield. I then get shot, killed, I land on a landmine, blow up. Right? So I'm on the floor and I'm dead. And he came up to me and he sat with me and he was just having a conversation. He was like, "Hey, you play a great dead body." And we're just sitting there having a conversation about, you know, what my goals are, what I wanted to achieve. And it was so enlightening and refreshing that I had someone who was so profound, and he was way, at the time he was way above me, and he's still way above me right now because he has a lot more in comparison to what I have in terms of ability, and he's done a hell of a lot more with his career. Still one of my favorite Branagh movies are Frankenstein Unbound. I love that movie, and I know it's shitty, you know, because you got like Sam Neill in there as well, and he's still such a polarizing actor in terms of what he does, anything he does. A lot of people didn't like his new movie that he directed and acted in, but I am always a true believer of you cannot direct and you cannot act in a movie that you're directing because the fact that it becomes a kind of ego-driven project, firstly, and secondly, you're not taking direction from someone because a director and an actor, when you're working on set, you have to make sure that there's a rapport going on with your writers as well because you're putting their words into perspective. With the director's directing you on how to move, how the scene is blocked, and how everything transitions effectively through that scene. If you're not in there doing that, then you're basically trying to learn your lines, you're trying to act. Then you've got your AD doing most of the line share directing. I don't care who you are. Don't tell me that you basically could act and direct in your own movie, because I'm sorry, that's no. It doesn't work, and something suffers. And a lot of people said that, his new movie basically suffered a bit. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm going to see it, and then I can give you my thoughts and opinions, maybe in a movie file. But yeah, so you've got all this situation happening, and and this is the thing. And I think when it comes to anything, people should be passing their knowledge down to the next person. When it comes to any creative endeavor or creative avenue, you should have people passing it on to the next one. You should have people passing it on to their friends, to their family, to whoever. So it helps build relationships and cultivate, so when the next guy does come up, they acknowledge you, because nothing lasts forever. I don't think PewDiePie's his fame is waning anyway, and he's moving a lot more onto Twitch streaming and stuff like that, and moving less and less from on YouTube as a platform, because one, they screwed him over. I still feel what happened to Felix was bad, and I feel it shouldn't have been done. I felt like it was an attempt to kind of have the media take away a YouTuber's rights, but at the same time, as a respective YouTuber himself, he had his Red Series. I understand the fact they had to do something. Taking his Red Series was fine. Taking away from the preferred partner thing was a bit too harsh, and also like disacknowledging him and saying and the what they put into play afterwards literally nearly killed the platform, because a lot of people have been demonetized. A lot of people have in their channels treated just basically treated like crap. Hey Michael, hey Nicole, how are you doing, my love? Are you having a very good day? I'm drinking Pepsi right now, by the way, and I'm having a kind of a birthday live stream right now, having a conversation with people about YouTube and acting and whatever. Just basically having a general chit chat. By the way, I know there's 4 people on there. Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on the whole, anything that I've talked about, Logan Paul, YouTube, about people passing down their knowledge, anything, because I really want to hear it. Because, this is all about conversation. When the conversation stops, still going about to go to sleep. Oh, that's a shame. I love having conversations with you. You're awesome. For those who haven't seen her channel, you should check out Nicole's channel. She's very interesting human being. She's very motivational as well. She talks about her life and the fact that she's going through a few life changes in herself, and also tries to inspire other people. So check her channel out. Give you a nice little channel rub there, Nicole. And I also need to see you one day. So the fact is, when you look at stuff like this, and you look at YouTube, and you look at the YouTube channels and the way that people create content, a lot of what happened to PewDiePie left a lot of lasting effects. And again, it was stupid. A lot of what happened was stupid. The fact that the anti-Semitic conversation happened. Oh, thanks, and yes, you do. Happened because of that, but then calling him a Nazi and all that stuff, and trying to draw at straws in order to make him look really bad, which it did make him look really bad. I'm not gonna lie, but it was kind of like pulling at clips and bits and pieces, and the fact that you have this situation, and it shows right now that YouTube doesn't care about their smaller creators. Excuse me. They don't care about their smaller creators. They don't care about their smaller channels. They don't care about the individuals that work with them. And to me, that leaves me really deflated as a content creator, because I feel that in terms of what we do, it's a process, and it takes hours. It takes time to actually make videos. Guys that have suffered, guys like Comic Drake, suffered. I feel like Review Tech USA, I've got a love-hate relationship with his channel. Richie at Review Tech USA, his channel's really nice in a sense of he brings informative information towards people like you and me, in terms of gaming news and pop culture news, YouTube stuff, whatever. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff he's a bit misinformed about, and I sometimes go to his channel, I sometimes don't. But there are a lot of guys, and I can see where the frustration comes along, because the problem being is, with YouTube, you've got these goalposts, and what they've done is they've effectively moved these goalposts higher, so that you have to meet more requirements in order to reach those goalposts. YouTube in 2008 is nothing compared to YouTube what it is now in 2018. And that's the problem. I'll message you later. Happy birthday, love. Thank you, my love. Have a great night. Mm. And that's kind of where the respective issues happen when it comes to making creator-driven content. And as someone who's a freelancer who works in the acting, works as an actor, works in the filmmaking industry, and it also works as a, also does this on the side. And I do this off my own back. I don't spend any money. I don't get any money for these videos. It's all like ad free, unless you see a video that's copyright claimed by Nintendo or someone else. Then they have ads on those videos. So I try and do the best that I can with what I can, and I put my own money into it to make sure that what I do respectively with enough gumption and enough commitment to make it work. You know, I like right now the reason why I'm doing these streaming videos is because I've got a bit of free time on my hands. So plus I've been very, very unwell, so I wanted to make sure that I do something interesting for you, you know, for your lovely selves. So when you see the stuff and you go through and you're trying your best to kind of work your way up, you're always going to need someone with advice. You're always going to need someone to give you a helping hand. And I find a lot of the bigger channels stick to themselves, and I know why. Like, I sent a video to Boogie recently, asking him to take a look, and if he liked it, promote it. Didn't even acknowledge me. I think recently the Comic Historian acknowledged me because I let him know about an independent company known as TPub. Gave him a big plug there. I might actually do some videos for them soon, discussing their comic books, talking about their stuff, and trying to see if I can get a bigger YouTube on these comic books, because they do some amazing comics. Twisted Dark, if you haven't read it, go to TPub's website. I think they've got issue 1 for free that you can read digitally, and then just they're at loads of Comic-Con conventions. I believe they're going to be at the MCM Comic-Con Expo, so make sure that you're there and make sure you check it out. And you know, it means a lot to people, and I think it means a lot to those who create. You want to get your stuff out there, you want to get your stuff seen, and you want to get people to notice you. And YouTube doesn't have the platform that does that anymore, because your content rarely gets seen on the platform. You have to go outside to do it, and it's a shame. You know, being someone who's I've been doing YouTube for like 6 years. I've been working as an actor for 10, and still as an actor I'm only getting this close. As a YouTuber I'm getting like this close. A little bit lower. And the reason behind it is I feel that the platform's not what it used to be. Oh, Grey man, she ain't what she used to be. Oh, okay, done with that gag. And because it's not what it used to be, it changes the entire archetype of the system, and it stops people, basically using a wrestling term, getting over. And that's a shame, because as someone who believes in the entirety of what the system provides and what YouTube does, it doesn't really help anyone right now. So when we have the situation with Logan Paul and all that stuff going on, it kind of killed everything and what made YouTube YouTube. You know, and eventually the platform is going to be stifled, because right now they're catering towards advertisers, and that's a good thing. And I think what was not a good thing, but they cater towards the advertisers, but I think it's a good thing that we acknowledge that, because as us YouTubers ourselves, we were able to get Logan Paul penalized, because everyone went out, everyone spoke out and said, no, you have done nothing. You get out of your way and you do something to make sure that this guy does not get away with this, because he needs a teachable moment. And this is a teachable moment, as Ice Cube would say. It's a teachable moment because you can acknowledge what you've done, you can realize what you did was wrong, and you can understand it and learn to better yourself from it. And that's the thing when it comes to life and anything else. You learn to better yourselves from the situations that you're in. For me, if I've done something wrong in life, I will learn from that situation and learn to better myself. And that's the way anyone should be. And I feel that Logan doesn't do that very much, because I don't think he's ever, as he pointed out, failed. And as my old drama teacher Paul Woodward would say, if you fail, fail beautifully. But everything in life, I don't believe there's actually failure. I believe there's teachable moments. So if you do end up in a situation where you're suffering from something, you have to look at it and go, right, was it me or was it them? What is the situation? Did I get myself into a situation? Did I act inappropriately? Did I act like an idiot? Is there anything I could do to rectify that situation? Is there anything I can do, not just as a business person, but as a human being? Is there anything I can do to rectify what I did and change the situation so that I can be a better person? And then you move on from it, learning what you've learned, understanding what you've understood. Because as people, we learn, we adapt, we intellectualize, and that's what we're supposed to do. Even from the days of Plato and Socrates, we basically learn to change who we are for the better. And I don't think guys like that don't change very often. So I'm hoping that he will learn from this. And I think PewDiePie even learned from his situation, but I think he also learns that he wasn't infallible. Like, YouTube didn't have his back, you know, and maybe he needs to take his kind of platform and change it into something else, and do what he does that he likes to do elsewhere with the comedy shtick thing. I don't consider him a comedian. I can pretty much the same as Logan. I consider him as someone who does funny things. He tries to think outside of the box, but it gets a bit, you know, crunchy nut in a sense. But still. But it's hopefully YouTube will also learn from this and learn that you can't rely on these types of individuals to keep your money train running. That you can work with other platformers who will eventually gain the same kind of level of success and people that you want. But we shall see. You know, as I said, I'm hats off to guys. If I can list off a guys who basically I consider miles and leaps and miles over guys like Logan Paul, Philip DeFranco, Boogie. And I don't know what the hate is for Boogie. A lot of people have hate for the guy. I don't know why. He's very honest about himself, and he's very honest about who he is. I like the guy. I think his Francis character's kind of shit, but yeah, I like the guy. In terms of, like, he's very honest with who he is. Mr. Repsion, trying to think who else. There are a bunch of other, like, YouTubers and people out there who I sit there and consider really interesting individuals. And it's a shame watching all these, you know, people who come in and think what I need to do is push boundaries in order to get the views they want, when the whole platform should be focusing on creative content and creative individuals. You've seen a lot of comic book and animation platforms dying on YouTube because they're not getting the attention that they need, and a lot of it is just due to the algorithm of the platform, and it's also due to the fact where I feel that the team behind said platform is just, they don't care. They really don't care about the people that are working with them. And instead of providing the assistance and support that everybody needs, they only provide it to those people who can drive up financial interests. So the lower on the earning spectrum you are, the lower you're going to get. But still. If you want me to give a list of channels that I think are great, I'll leave them below, and I'll tell you who they are. I don't watch much anymore. Most of my stuff is usually wrestling and YouTube and comic book content. I do watch some gaming channels, like there are some stuff, like the Death of the Game series. I watch Stop Skeletons from Fighting. I love that show. It's from the guy who used to be he wasn't the angry video game nerd. He was the, hey, Down Phoenix, how you doing, dude? He was the happy video game nerd. That was it. I was just talking about the Logan Paul situation. If you want to chime in, give me your 2 cents. I'll be more than happy to working on my PS1 vid. What's the video about? Is it anything interesting? That's another one you guys can check out. Check out Down Phoenix's channel. See what you think of his content. He does some pretty interesting stuff. Yeah, me too. I'm glad they're doing something. I think the extent people are going on about his channel needs to be shut down, this is ridiculous, is kind of silly. I'm surprised, but let's just say I haven't seen the others talk about it. Cool, that's awesome. Can't wait to can't wait to hear about it. I'll check out the video once you're done with it. The the biggest issue I had with the situation was they knew they had to do it because they were being called out for their hypocrisy because of they were comparing Logan Paul to PewDiePie. And PewDiePie, in my opinion, didn't do half the crap that Logan Paul did. PewDiePie was kind of a publicity situation where you had all these news sites and magazines and stuff attack YouTube, and he was kind of the scapegoat because of one video that he did, and he was an idiot for doing it, which was the Fiverr video, which was a popular thing on the platform. Other YouTubers were doing it as well, where he was paying people on Fiverr to do weird things, and one guys basically did something which was anti-Semitic, and he then apologized. He got freaked out with the video. He apologized. He shouldn't have uploaded it. He uploaded it anyway, and then basically the not only the video got taken down because he chose to take it down, but he got a lot more chastised for it. And then they started looking at neo-Nazi parodies that he was doing for his vlogs, and they ended up basically trying to make him out to be this neo-Nazi, anti-Semitic, like freaking racist. So he had his YouTube Red show cancelled. He was demonetized from the preferred partner platform. He was still earning money, but he wasn't earning the bigger income that he was usually accustomed to. Then he was then dropped by his partners, I believe his network that he was with, and then he moved the lion's share of his stuff to Twitch, which is fine. But the thing is, to hold him that high accountable and not doing the same with Logan Paul kind of was hypocritical on their part, especially on the fact that they helped the bloody video trend. Like, that's the big thing of this. No one went out and sought this video. They helped it trend to the fact that the guy put this video out there and was just like, oh, you know, this video is trending at #1 with an image of a dead body. An image, it's like if Poods basically did his video with I hate Jews on the freaking thumbnail. That's literally what it was like. And he did this thing, and he disrespected an entire country and culture of people. So I'm glad they've done something, but a lot of it was due to pressure from everybody, you know, and I'm glad, and I have to give a shout out to everybody that participated. Even like Kenny Omega, who just went out there and said, no, enough is enough. You messed up. Hold yourselves accountable for this and do something about it. And they didn't intentionally help it trend, just a side effect of their algorithm and the bots not treating the channel the same as most others. Yeah, but the thing is as well, when people flagged the video, it was actually a person that knocked that flagging down because you had to get an individual to look at it. So you had people working for YouTube who basically thought that was okay. The bots didn't do that. The bots didn't say that didn't violate our terms. It was an individual that kept knocking back those flags and saying, no, it's fine, it's fine, it's okay to be, there's nothing wrong with this video. And that's what the scary part about it was. So he was getting a lot more leeway than everybody else, which means there was favoritism, which is the bigger thing when it comes to this sort of situation. But still. Pep's here. But that's the thing. You're looking at that and you're looking at that whole situation. It's a shame. And again, as I said, I've seen the video of his dad. The dude is about as egotistical as his two sons. I'm sure a channel of his size gets flags all the time. So the boy who cries wolf situation probably. Yeah, I kind of agree on that. But then wouldn't you watch the video yourself to sit there and go, okay, what's the issue here? Let me have a look at what's going on. And if it's bad, then we need to have a go at this and look at this and look at this in order to make it work. And that's basically, again, it's trial and error, isn't it? You look at the video and go, okay, what's the thing that's been flagged? Oh, look, there's a dead body in that video. Yeah, that's a bit bad. Okay, that does violate our terms and conditions because obviously I have the rules in front of me that tell me that it violates terms and conditions. Instead, the person just went, no, boom, no, 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 no. So either they didn't view it, or they basically were ignorant to the fact that they didn't have the rules in front of them, which means you need better humans looking at these videos, which is a shame. So at least it's been dealt with. At least he's been reprimanded, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that he will learn a lesson. My guess is they didn't view it, or at least enough of it. Yeah, no, they didn't view it. I think they didn't, because if you flag it, you get to flag which part of the video is the problem, and I don't think they viewed it at all. And that's the weird thing about it. He actually had one of his own team members sit there and go, "Hey, I don't think we should film this body." Which, Logan, by the way, I think you should listen to your friends next time. But still. Right. I think I'm done. It's been a great live stream. Down Phoenix, thank you for joining me. Thank you to Dewey. Thank you to Pixel Gamer Girls, Nicole Green, everybody who basically attended this live stream with me today. Thank you for making this birthday live stream an awesome one, of course, to everybody involved, because it was a really nice live stream to be a part of. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to be doing a new review soon. I've got another British review coming up. I'm going to be reviewing both South Park, The Stick of Truth, and thank you, dude, and South Park, The Fractured Butthole. So both of those, Dave Wade, Lawn Boys Post 1975, I'm going to give a great big shout out to him. He bought me this as a birthday present, and I really, really have to thank Dave for that. Out of a lot of love and appreciation from Dave, who bought me that game. So I get the downloaded Stick of Truth, and I also get the Fractured Butthole as well for $24.99, which wasn't bad at all. So yeah, I'll be doing that. I'm also going to be doing a review on the Cove N200 series, which again, it's the same USB that this has for the Switch, but that one actually does Bluetooth, so you might enjoy that. So that's it from me, guys, and I will see you again soon. This has been Michael Burhan for another live stream, telling you all, you awesome people, that I've got gameplay. Have you? See you soon.